Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Merry Christmas to you all, and thank you so much for tuning in to this very, very special edition of the Last Word on Spurs. A real special feature that we're bringing you today. But before we announce the legend that we've got before our eyes here, listen, next to me is another legend, of course. Runner, conductor, instructor of our crazy train. It can only be Mr. Lee McQueen. Lee, how are you, bud?
Rick, I'm really well, thanks. Viewers and listeners, really good to see you. Merry Christmas as well. Hope you're having a fantastic festive period. And I am buzzing. I'm fanboying, right? I'm not even lying to you. We have got one of the Tottenham Hotspur legends sitting in front of us today. And we're in the press auditorium as well at the training ground. So I'm absolutely buzzing, Rick, and it's going to be a wonderful show. So sit back, relax, drink a bit of your sherry, whatever it is that you do on Christmas Day, and watch this wonderful content we're about to bring you. Yeah,
absolutely. Guys, enjoy it. Merry Christmas to you all, and enjoy the wonderful Jermain Defoe. How are you, bud?
Yeah, good. You?
Yeah, not bad. Thank you so much, mate, for your time.
No problem.
Really special interview for us. That Last Word on Spurs has been founded for like 6-7 years. So I think, again, this kind of marks another big moment for us in where we've got a real, true Spurs legend coming on the pod. So thank you so much. And I suppose the first question is, how's it feel being back home?
Yeah, it feels good. It's something that, obviously we spoke before about, it was always going to happen. When I finished playing, coming back home, 2 spells, long time here, relationship with the fans, a lot of the staff are, still here, so many familiar faces. So to sort of be here, that transition from being obviously the player to a coach, for me, it's been great.
Amazing stuff, Jermain. Not only have you lit up the lane over the past 10 years or so, but 2004 to 2008 and 2009 to 2014, as Rick just touched upon, but you also represented West Ham, Bournemouth and Portsmouth, Toronto as well. So we'll probably touch upon that a bit later on as well. So I know you had some fun out there. Sunderland as well, which we talked about in just before coming on. And of course, winning the title with Rangers as well. Where you served also as a player, coach and helped the club, as I just said, lift the title. You called time on a wonderful playing career, and I'll be honest with you, viewers and listeners, man, this guy can still play. I'm telling you, this guy is like.
I was actually in the gym this morning, actually.
Man, you are mega
bench press and stuff like that.
Absolutely, absolutely loving it. Has it kind of sunk in that your playing career has kind of come to an end?
I think it has, to be honest. I think it has. I think I've spoken to players that have finished, and they say the first obviously 6 months is difficult. But I think with me, it's sort of because I played for so long. Yeah. And it wasn't a case of, unfortunately, some players, they have to retire because of injuries and stuff like that. Yeah. But for me, it wasn't the case. It was I was ready to finish. If someone would have said to me when I first started playing, my first professional game at 17, and I made my debut at West Ham, and then you finish at 39.
Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Do you really want to be playing football into your 40s? When you don't really need to. Of course, we love the game and you want to play forever, but the reality is at some point you're going to have to stop and like I said, from 17 to 39, it's a lot of games.
Amazing career.
It's a lot of games and that, but I loved every moment.
And you mentioned just a minute ago, obviously using the gym this morning and stuff. Is it just gym work that you do, or the likes of Ryan Giggs, who did play on to his 40s and that sort of stuff, get onto the kind of yoga and that sort of stuff? Is that how you keep yourself kind of front body and mind and that sort of thing? Yeah,
you try and obviously not to the same intensity, but you still try and go in the gym when you can, and probably look, and it's so much more relaxed now, because before, while you're playing, you've got to stick to a program where I've got to do this on this day, I can't do too much of this and stuff like that. But now you can just go in there, have a blast, and then you can just there's not so much of a program. And obviously when I'm out there with the boys on the grass, and I can join in the sessions, joining the finishing session.
Still got it?
Yeah, it's good. It's been good.
It's still got it, mate.
It's been quite funny. Some of the boys not happy with me with the finishes and that, but it's been good. So it's I think probably the nearest thing you get to being a player is probably coaching.
Yeah.
Being on the grass, putting your boots on and giving something back to the younger players.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You've already been a massive part of the fabric of the football club. Obviously, of course, playing for us twice in 2 different spells. You're now into the next phase of your career, of course, by joining our academy setup where you're closely alongside our existing coaching team, and there's obviously the fact that you've got the under-17s, under-21s age groups. How much are you enjoying this new role for you at the club?
Yeah, I'm loving it, because it's obviously something that I've always wanted to do. Probably didn't think about it as much in my 20s. But as I've come to the back end of my career and I've seen players that I played with, like I don't know, like Steve, as you mentioned, played with it for England, and Frank, and other like, you know, the Ashley Coles that have gone into coaching that, you know, in my sort of like generation. Ledley did a little bit. So there's been loads. Scott Parker that have done coaching, become managers, starting in the academy. You know, Stevie started at Liverpool. Scotty actually was here and become managers and successful managers. So I think when I've sort of like seen that, then obviously you think, okay, you know, I might want to go down that path, and as you know, obviously doing a little bit of TV stuff as well, which I've enjoyed. But for me, the priority is obviously coaching because I love football, and it's always nice as well to come back and, you know, give something back to the younger players and that next generation.
It's probably too early maybe to ask you this, but I will ask it anyway. Is there anything already at the time you've started the coaching here, and that gives you the greatest satisfaction as a coach at this early stage with players? What gives you the greatest satisfaction at the moment?
I think when you're, I mean, the coaches here, all the coaches here, they've been brilliant with me, to be honest. You know, I just want to sort of like learn as much as I can. But in terms of like satisfaction, you know, when you sort of like you work with a group of players all week and then you go into a game and they sort of like execute a game plan, for instance, and, you know, they win on the weekend and you come in on a Monday and the boys are buzzing. Or after a game, like you go in the change rooms and the boys are like proper buzzing, they got the tunes on. And just to see that sort of atmosphere, because I've been there, and it's just like you walk in and stuff like that, and it's such a nice feeling, because all you want, you know, there's no better satisfaction for a coach than seeing these players win, develop, and hopefully at some stage, you know, get to the other side and get into the first team and have like careers in the game.
Just touching upon that, if I can, like you mentioned, we talked about Ian Wright. He's quite a massive influence on your career in terms of, you know, as a young player, seeing him at West Ham and following his career and kind of watching I remember seeing you listening to another podcast, and you talked about watching footage of Ian Wright and then going out and kind of replicating it as a kid and that sort of stuff. And now you're in that position almost, like you know, running the academy or managing the academy. The youngsters are looking up to you and doing that. So when you talk about kind of getting involved, are you kind of showing them like game plans or tactical? I remember one of the things that you talked about before was, you know, Ian Wright was holding on to your bib or your back or something. Don't run into the box too early. Is that sort of things that you now pass on to in the role that you're in now? Yeah,
and I think a lot of it's probably demonstrating, because you can talk to people and say, right, do this. But sometimes I feel like if you can demonstrate, if you're like a younger coach, obviously sometimes it's difficult for coaches as they get older to demonstrate. But I think if you can demonstrate certain things in that, then, you know, the players can see it. Because that's what Wrighty did with me. He was obviously still playing. So I would watch Wrighty in training, would do finishing, and then he would speak to me about, obviously, you know, not getting into the box too early. So he would hold my training kit.
Yeah, amazing.
Just that resistance and that. Then he would push me to the near post and be like, right, that's the timing. So stuff like that, where you can demonstrate. I think that's probably the most important thing for the players. Instead of just talking and being like, right, do this. Whereas actually, if you do it like this, I'll join in with you, and you can watch whether that's the movement or the way I hit the ball or the way I sort of like put my body over the ball so I'm not leaning back so that we don't go over the bar. Little things like that, where you can demonstrate it, join in the sessions and actually stop and actually talk about it. So it's good.
And you mentioned, Jermain, as well about kind of executing a game plan, like, you know, at this level, like you go out, you work on something, and then, you know, on a Saturday or whatever, the team go out and execute. Do you think it's changed, like from even 10 years ago, like, or when you first came in, like game plans and tactical, how tactical aware you have to be as a coach now? You know, we were talking off air, weren't we, about, you know, like Antonio Conte, Pep Guardiola, you know, Jurgen Klopp, Mauricio Pochettino, these fantastic coaches. Do you think that that's changed a bit? I mean, you played on some amazing managers, right? Don't get me wrong, but do you think that's changed a lot?
Yeah, I think everyone knows that the game's changed in terms of like that sort of like, in terms of like tactics and stuff like that. And I think it's changed a lot. I'm not saying that obviously back in the day there was never tactics. You don't just go out and play.
No.
You set your team out, right, this is how we want to play, this is the formation, this is the personnel and stuff like that. But I think the way the game's gone now, in terms of tactics, it's changed a lot, to be honest. And
or even like analytical stuff that we were chatting about before. I mean, like that's
in terms of
now, isn't it?
You speak about analysts and stuff like that, you know, all the top managers would have the best analysts, because literally these analysts, they're in the office, in front of the computer all day. You know, in possession, what do we do in possession? What do we do out of possession? You know, the team that we're playing against, how good are they in possession? So it's just relentless. It's not just a case of, you know, the manager, assistant manager. Like there's different teams. You've got the analyst team, you've got like the sports science, you've got the medical department, you've got the managers, the coaches. Like the game's gone to like another level, to be honest. And that's why you see a lot of coaches and managers, you look at their backroom staff, and it's like
It's like a contingency.
An entourage.
it's another team. It's another team.
Huge.
Yeah.
So, and I think you need that. So like, if you've got that, so as the manager or the assistant manager, like, and you're not stepping on anyone's toes, you know, you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
You're an expert at what you do. And then you're all helping each other.
Yeah.
For it to work. So I think that's just the way the game's gone now.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Just on what you touched upon there, JD, on terms of game plans, I'm just really intrigued to know, obviously, for you, obviously, this phase of coaching now, how do you find it is delivering that message succinctly and kind of simplistically to the players that you're working with in terms of whether it be drills or whether it be approaching a game? For you, how did you always find for you was the best way that message was delivered? Was it keeping it pretty brief?
Yeah.
Was it more in depth? How did you find?
Yeah, for me,
how do you take that on now?
For me, it was like when I was playing. Obviously, it's like it's you get your week. You know what you're doing in a week, and a lot of times, like when I was playing on probably on a Thursday, Friday, you get all the tactical information.
Yeah.
Whereas early in the week, it's like more you train, you get the intensity. The sessions have got to be the quality in the sessions. Obviously, leading up to the weekend. But then come closer to the game, it's the tactical information about the meetings and stuff like that. And this is what we've got to do in possession. This is what to do out of possession. And then the players know their roles here anyway. Because these players in the academy, they've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's just sort of like just remembering the key messages.
Yeah.
And probably just like reminders, really.
Yeah.
Right. Just reminders. Yeah. Because a lot of the time it's like, okay, this is what we've done the last game. This is what we've got to do again. Because it doesn't really matter who you're playing against. The key message is always the same. It's the same principles. And that's it really. So, but yeah, it's quite interesting though, because like obviously you said about before when I first started and how it was then back then compared to now.
Yeah.
And like, and I look at it now, and even with the meetings and how it is in the academies now, where you have like you would train, have like a review of training and the games and stuff like that. And I can't remember having too many meetings when I was in the youth team at West Ham.
Right. Okay.
Can't remember sitting in a room and having too many meetings. You just train and the next day.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I'm not saying it was wrong doing it that way, but...
No, it's just different. It's just different.
It's just different. All the information now that the players get. But at the same time, I do like to, on a personal note, I always think, especially with forward players, like I think there's got to be like a tactical element. Like obviously everyone wants to keep clean sheets, you've got to be sort of... But then I always think like in a final third, then I would want players to go and express yourselves.
Yeah.
Because if you're not good, if you weren't good at what you do, you wouldn't be here anyway.
No.
So... I'd want players to just go and just express yourself and have freedom to rotate and go and win the game.
One of the things that always struck me about watching you is that you would take a shot when the goalkeeper was least expecting it. So like,
early.
And you are, I still think
Early.
today when I look at other forwards in comparison to what you're like, you are still for me one of those different kind of forwards that still sticks out at sticking to what your mantra was. That was test the goalkeeper, no matter where, no matter how far out. Is that something again you would be feeding down to the youngsters? Is it a case of like expressing them like you just said there in any way in which they feel they want to some degree?
Yeah, I always like, because when I watch games now and I see like goalkeepers sometimes, you see goalkeepers are out of position sometimes, and I always think the best way to sort of like describe it is if a goalkeeper's sort of like out of position, like we had a game here the other day, and one of our players went through. It was an in-house game, and the goalkeeper's obviously come out too early, and I just thought the goalkeeper's probably thinking, like I'm out of position. Like, so the goalkeeper's going to panic. So if you know the goalkeeper's going to panic, so do exactly what the goalkeeper's not going to want you to do. So if he's out of position, he's out of his box. Just it sounds easy. Just lift it over him. So if you,
it does sound easy,
because the goalkeeper, he's not going to want me to do that. So I'm going to do. So that's what I'm going to do because you're out of position. You don't know where the goal is. And now you must be panicking. So I'm just going to lift it over you. Whereas if I take another touch, the goalkeeper gets back in position. That's what he wants me to do. So, and you know, in terms of like getting your shot off early. No goalkeeper, like goalkeepers, they try and get set. They bounce, right? They get set and they're ready to go. They're ready. So. Okay, don't wait for him to get set. Hit it as quick as you can. So just little things that I've always kept in the back of my mind. So that I know while I'm playing. Obviously, your instincts and that kicking anyway.
I was going to say, is that instinct?
It's instinctive, but because I've always spoke about stuff like that and I know. So obviously it happens so quick. I'm not going to get in the box and be like, right, I'm going to get the ball and then the goalkeeper's going to... No, it's just like, I know.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I know. Like, if the goal's out of position and that, I'm just going to, right, he's going to panic now. I'm just going to... So.
I mean, you know yourself, the Premier League is played at such a fast pace. And that's why I think, again, you look at your record, that's why you were made for this league and the goals you scored, because you were so instinctive and it was almost like, in a blink of a second, the ball being in the net, you take a shot off. I just do want to highlight, because it sounded like I did read about you and have researched as well, that the amount of time you spent behind the scenes watching DVDs, videos of the likes of Maradona, top strikers that would get their shots off, Wrighty, of course, as well. Just give us a feeling of, how often you spent in terms of that, looking back, research to learn so much about the game for yourself. Rather than being told it, you went and done your own research and you were kind of ahead of the game then when it came to match day or even training as well to be the best.
Yeah, because I suppose like young players, obviously you come in and you train, hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then you go home, and for me it wasn't enough. I didn't want to just come to train and then switch off. For me, it was like, okay, then how can I sort of like you said, go home and just educate yourself. Like I'd go home and I'd put DVDs on, videotapes and stuff like that. I mean, and even when I was here playing, like an established player, I remember speaking to we had a skills guy called Ricardo.
Okay.
And he was with Martin Yole. I spoke to Ricardo about Van Basten, and then Ricardo was Dutch, and he was like, okay, he said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you a DVD. I got this DVD of Van Basten. He said, just watch it. I said, okay, cool, no problem. Got me a DVD, went home, watched it. I was watching Wrighty DVDs. I had one on Ronaldo, R9.
Yeah.
Like just so much, just being at home and just studying the game. But it's like, and it's funny though, because even like you think about sport and the great athletes, and you listen to like someone like a Floyd Mayweather or Mike Tyson, that literally used to sit in a room and just watch all these great champions from years before. And then how can I get a bit from him? How can I, like, all the top athletes, that's what they do. That's what they do. It's not like, I'm a footballer actually for a couple of hours and I come into the building and when I go home, I'm going to sit on the PlayStation. That wasn't me. It was 24-hour athlete and just go home, watch football, train every day and just be the best that you can be.
It's interesting, Jermaine, you mentioned there about kind of taking a bit from everybody. And is that, I'm assuming that's going to be the same in coaching as well, right? You've played some under amazing coaches, amazing managers. And have you kind of taken a bit from that individual, bit from that person, and then start to bring that into your own coaching style? Yeah,
because obviously you want to be approachable because you talk about the best coaches, but I think it's just more than just coaching. You have to manage people. That's probably important as well, because if you've got a squad of like 25 players, let's say, you get all these different characters. Everyone's different.
Totally.
Everyone's different. Like you sometimes, like if you speak to one player a certain way, maybe you can't speak to that player like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
especially now though, I mean, you must see that as well in terms of the way the game is developed. You have to kind of, it's a man management piece, right? You have to treat everybody to their own idyllic style, you'd say.
Exactly, and it's not easy. It can't be easy. I've spoken to the boss here about coaching. He said to me, good luck on that, but he said it's completely different. He said, when you're playing, you can think about yourself.
Yeah.
That's what the manager said to me. He said, I've been there. I've been a player where on a weekend, he said as a forward, you might score 2 goals. And then your team your team loses. Like it might be, you might score 2 and your team loses 3-2. You've done your job.
Yeah.
But as a manager, like, regardless of like the result, it's like, okay, the next game. So you're not thinking about yourself, it's about the team. It's about the staff, it's about the club. So it's like it's completely different. But I played for managers that obviously that are really approachable. You can go and speak to the manager about anything. Yeah. You can have a problem at home, you go and talk to the manager. Yeah. Because actually, when you think about it, it's like when you're in the building, like my teammates and the manager, it's like you're like family.
Yeah.
I'm with you every single day from start of pre-season to the summer. So when I've got problems, I should feel comfortable to actually I'm gonna go and talk to my boss.
Yeah.
But and there's managers that I think I can't talk to him.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna speak to him because he's not really approachable.
It's huge.
Honestly, I have to just tap in on that. Is there a split, JD? You talk about managers there. I mean, a lot of it does feel. I mean, you've played under some wonderful man managers, and then you've also played under some that are really tactically astute. Is it a case of just trying to find the right balance, or did you have a preference in terms of how you were managed as a player, and then you're looking to maybe take that into coaching, or is it just building all those together?
I didn't like too much information. I didn't like too much information because I think a lot of forwards you play off the cuff anyway. I wanted the tactical detail of the team, But then with me, I didn't want the manager to say to me, right, you got to run there. I want you to do this. I want you to do this. I want you to do this. Actually, if you trust me and you know how sort of like, and you believe that I'm good enough to be in the team and that, just trust me, I can actually, because you need a tactical element, but I just think with forward players sometimes, just let them go out and play. Let them go out and play. And I mentioned before, just go out and express yourself, forward players and that. But of course, there has to be a setup, I understand that. But I never liked like too much sort of like information.
Right.
Like, and I spoke to a lot of forwards, to be honest, and forwards are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Was you always going to be a forward? Was you always going to be a striker from
always.
early age? You was just like, mate,
I didn't understand how people get in front and go and pass it to someone. I didn't understand it.
You got a good few assists. You got a good few assists.
And I know it's part of the game. If you have to pass it, you pass it because the team's got to win. But I didn't understand how you could score, but you'd rather pass to me. And then you'd actually get the same feeling as me as scoring a goal.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. If I give someone an assist, I'm buzzing because we're winning.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'd rather score the goal and get that.
The Wigan 9-1, mate. 5-0. That was quality. You're watching crouching.
5. If someone said to me, would you have scored 3 and give 2 to someone else? Why?
No.
Why? My teammates should love the fact that I am so hungry to score goals.
100%,
Feed you, innit?
Because if I was a midfielder and then a number 9's in front of me, that's exactly what I'd want. I'd want my number 9 to be greedy and selfish. No, I can't score goals. That's what I want. If I'm a captain, ask Ledley. Ledders used to be like, you can ask Ledders. Like, so that's just the way it is. But not just the game, training as well. I want to score in training. If we're playing a 5-side in training, I want to score. Because the boys used to wind me up. If I didn't score in a 5-side in training, the boys like, what? Jay, didn't you score today? That's everywhere I've been.
But you were so hungry. I mean, that's what I think everyone loved about you. On the pitch, I mean, the thing is, you were just so hungry for goals.
Yeah, mate, that's how you got to be.
No, absolutely. I need to talk. We're talking about scoring goals, and we've got one of the most prolific goal scorers, in my opinion, in the world, playing for the football club right now. And I know you kind of handed over the jersey.
Everyone's opinion.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I'm loving this guy. And you handed the jersey essentially over to Harry Kane because it brought you good luck in terms of number 18. How? I love the story that was played out on Spurs Play when, you know, you were in the Range Rover and you pulled up and you were... I mean, it's such an amazing story that you went and just had a kickabout and Harry was there and then he's come through the academy itself. Like, how good is he, Jermain? And, you know, can he go, I suppose, all the way, you know, in becoming the Premier League all-time goal scorer?
I think at this stage he's at now, I don't think he's got anything to prove to anyone. I think he's done it, and I think that the story's crazy, really, from being young here.
All the loans, obviously. I mean, I have to touch upon that, just as Lee mentions Harry there. When you look at his journey, and I think you kind of earmarked very early on, you thought, this guy's finishing is just unreal. I mean, he's going to end up, he's got to get his chance eventually. Yeah. Did you always feel with Harry that it was going to always pan out this way? Or did you always have that idea, or is I think
there's been sort of like mixed opinions, really. I think that a lot of people, not what he had technically, not like the finishing and stuff. Like, I think physically, a lot of people probably back then thought, well, if you're like a number 9, they'd want you to sort of like be more athletic and like get around the pitch and stuff like that. Probably without even looking at him and thinking, actually, what he's got, that technically what he's got is probably a lot better than most players have got. Because when he was, I think when Harry was in the youth team, he was actually a midfielder. So people talk about his passing, but I don't think a lot of people know that. So I think he probably could have got a chance earlier. He was scoring goals, youth team level, like consistently. When I was here, because I used to speak to him about how many goals you scored, and he was like consistently. Then he trained with the first team, would score goals. But I suppose not until when Poch came in. And this is why it's important we speak about coaches and managing people. And actually saying, he's like he can finish. He's a goal scorer. He wants to score goals, but how can we improve him? How can we get him better? And I think that's why the top coaches were like, actually, okay then, because you have to be coachable. You have to be like, you know, you look at players and think, actually, okay, he's got this, that's good, but how can we get him to there? I think Poch has looked at him and thought, okay, we need to make him quicker, stronger. And that's exactly what they did. Focused on that side of it. Forget about the football side of it. You've got that already. Let's focus on getting him quicker and stronger, and then we see what happens. And then it's just
In your career as well, Jermaine, as a player, did you find it? Some, especially in the Premier League, right? It's relentless. Like every single match you're playing is tough, right? Anyone can beat anyone. It's best league in the world, we know. But did you, after season 1 or season 2 or whatever, did you feel that you started to have to adapt your game as well because people or defenders, top class defenders, are working you out? Do you know what I mean? Like, so that's another aspect of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it's like so much adapting your game, because I just think it's like just wanting to improve from the last season.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I always felt comfortable in front of goal. I was always confident that if I get chances, I'll score. For me, it wasn't even about that. And even when I went periods when I didn't score, I was still confident, actually, I cannot score for 6 games, but then I can play on a Wednesday night and then score a hat-trick.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm not scored for 6 games. All of a sudden, I've scored 3 like in 1 game. So I always believed that. But then for me, the big thing was that I was always in the gym. I did a lot of power work. So I thought, okay, I need to be like strong. How can I get stronger than last season?
Yeah.
So I'm even quicker. So
it's explosive as well.
Explosive, Because I've always thought, I didn't worry about who I was playing against. I thought if I'm the best version of me, it doesn't
matter.
We saw that with you as well. I think we saw that your focus was on you. You didn't really look at much about the opposition. I mean, that again, show some of the goals you scored. I mean, obviously the overhead kick against United.
Yeah, exactly.
Comes to mind. I mean, I just think you were just fearless when it comes to opposition.
Yeah, I think that's what you got to be. I think
the Arsenal goal. I know it was in a defeat, but that goal there was just incredible. I mean, like there's goals you've scored that just down the years you just think.
But if you talk about all the top forwards, they've got that sort of like elite mindset.
Yeah.
Like, if Harry was here and I said, H, are you bothered about playing against, I don't know, Van Dijk, for instance?
Yeah.
No disrespect. Yeah, Van Dijk, the reason why I said Van Dijk is he's one of the best.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be bothered about playing against him.
No, you want to prove your...
Because you're sort of like going off my beat. I'm a forward. You're a defender.
Yeah.
You have to mark me, so I have to be on it. So it's just like, it's not really... Do you know what I mean? It's not something that you focus on. Of course, there's certain games...
Yeah.
North London derby, I need to be on it, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Playing against Chelsea or Man City, Do you know what I mean? There's certain games that you for whatever reason, you probably find more.
Yeah.
But you never sort of worried about it. I think you probably look forward to the bigger games and playing against the better players.
That's what it's about, right? That is what it's about. You work so hard to get to that pinnacle of their massive games. And like you say, obviously I've never been a footballer. I know the viewers and listeners think I might have been, right, but I never have.
Yeah.
But you're getting into some big opportunities and you want to enjoy them, right?
You want to enjoy them.
You want to enjoy it and you want to soak it up and you want to say, I'm going to show what I can do on the biggest stage,
the biggest stage.
I'm going to give it.
Exactly.
100%.
I think we've got to ask, just close off on Harry. Obviously, the amount of loans he had. And I think it's also worth touching on the point that the progression what Spurs have seen in terms of academy players coming through, the way they've managed certain players, I think has to be highlighted. Obviously, for you now coming in, that would be obviously massive in terms of the academy, the focus on that, trying to grow our next crop of, hopefully... Superstars. That's what we're obviously planning for.
Yeah.
Is that, again, part of the work that goes on behind the scenes in terms of looking at a player when you feel, once you've developed into a point where you feel, right, he needs to go out and play... maybe it'd be League One, Championship football in terms of knowing when the right time is. Because I think you obviously had a couple of spells on loan as well. Does that really ground you as a player and make you ready then to come back for the...
I went on loan to Bournemouth. I only had one loan spell because I went on loan to Bournemouth and I was like 17, 18.
He was incredible there, right?
And I came straight back to West Ham and that. So I do think it's important to sort of like go out and loan and play league football because I do feel like the league football is completely different. Because when you go out there, and you're actually playing league football, and you go into a changing room with a group of men that actually, they're like, compared to youth team football, actually, they need to win on a weekend because they're getting a bonus to pay their mortgage and look after their family. So it was completely different to playing like with players my age group. That they're in digs or you're at home with your family and stuff like that, and then actually you're on loan now with a group of men. Like they have to win. The demands of winning, the demands that they put on you. It's completely different because these players are like seasoned professionals. They have to win games. They have to, like I just mentioned before, they've got mortgages to pay.
It's jeopardy, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? It's a completely different level. And what happens is when you have that when you're young and you have that sort of pressure, I think it's good pressure actually because then it makes you ready for when you come back. Because when you come back and then you get into the first team somewhere and then you have to like walk across that white line on a Saturday afternoon in front of 60,000, mate, there's nowhere to hide. So you have to be ready.
I'm just going to bring it back to coaching just for a second, Jermaine. I'll hand back over to Lee because obviously, look, we've said you've obviously played with some wonderful players. They've obviously gone on to be managers, but also the fact that Spurs have got a really strong record of producing black coaches, the likes of Chrissy Houghton, Chris Ramsey, Les Ferdinand, you know very well, Justin Cochrane as well, and the late great, obviously, Hugo Ekihog. How proud does it make you feel that? How proud is it to make you feel that the club is continuing that tradition and striving for that equality and diversity? Because I think, again, from the outside looking in, I think we can all say there's still not enough, I would say, black representation out there, and we're always striving for more. So how proud are you to be, again, following that tradition and hopefully continuing that trend, which should rightly be happening?
Yeah, the diversity's got to be important, isn't it? And it's been something that I mean, not just me, but I mean, it's been something that's been documented for years.
Yeah.
You talk about all the campaigns, Kick It Out, you know, Show Racism the Red Card, all these campaigns that began since like 1993.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get someone like a Troy Townsend, Andros' dad, that's doing so much in that.
Troy,
That's been doing his work for like 9 years. And still, when I have conversations with him, it's like, yeah, but we've still got a long way to go and stuff like that. But I think in terms of like having black coaches, when you look at all the football clubs, I mean, this one by far is not being biased, of course, but when you look at the names that you've mentioned, and there's more, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a lot more. We could, we could. Yeah,
and I feel like even when I was here as a player, it was Chrissy Hutons. I think you mentioned Chrissy, Les Ferdinands, Rambo. Yeah. So yeah, it's amazing, and for me as well. When I came back in the summer, and I didn't actually know when I came back in the summer. Yeah. And I walked into the building, and then Yaya Torres and stuff like that. I walked into the building, and I walked in, and I'm seeing players. Well, I'm seeing, black coaches or maybe, someone that's part of the sports science team that was in the academy here when I was a player, looking like, what, are you still here? And like, do you know what I mean? And it's just awesome. Like, it's unbelievable. Familiar faces and that. Yeah. And then we get together and then we're talking about like, JD, remember when you was first team playing, you did this when I was in the youth team. And
but it's important. I think it's massively important.
But they've never played. They didn't play. They had careers in the game. Yeah. But they actually didn't actually get into the first team here. Yeah. But they're back here. Yeah, been given an opportunity, whether that's a coach or whether that's actually you're part of the sports science team. Yeah, you do the warm-ups and you do all that sort of stuff. So it's just the club deserves a lot more credit. I don't think people talk about it enough. And I mean, even when I spoke to Troy, like he said to me, he said, "This club gets it." Yeah, and we're not being biased.
No,
it's just the facts.
We've seen it, though, aren't we? We've seen it.
The facts the facts are the facts. And even I knew I was coming back here even before I finished. I was still at Rangers. Yeah, I had another year on my contract. Right. And then I knew that actually after that year, you're coming back to Tottenham.
I think we all felt you were going to come back, JD.
And you know what? It was quite funny though, because it went like, okay, what do you want to do when you finish? You're coming back. It was like, no, you're coming back. Yeah. So I didn't have a try. It's brilliant for me because, to sort of like, when you finish playing, it's always difficult anyway. Yeah. But to get an opportunity to come back to a club like this and with these sort of facilities.
I was about to touch on that if I can. How different is it from a facilities perspective? Like, we're blown away. Obviously, we don't see this every day. We are completely blown away with this. I've done a lot of work. It's mad. In the old set, like White Hart Lane, it's completely different, like for here. And now this is your workplace, right? This is the facilities here are incredible, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like, it's your workplace. Yeah. Whether you're in football or whatever it is, you come to work every day with the facilities, good people. Yeah. You can't ask for any more.
They've done an amazing job, haven't they? The club have done an amazing job.
And that's what I tried to explain to the players. Sometimes you have to realise how lucky you are, like your environment, stuff like that. Because I said, with us, some of the coaches and that, like you talk about Brace and stuff like that, and Nige, like. Actually, when we started, we had porta cabins. Yeah. We had a porta cabins.
And it was cold. When I was cold out there today.
When we was at West Ham, right, with Chadwell Heath, we had porta cabins. And the funny thing is, we were happy, and nothing changed. We went out training, and then but the difference where we had porta cabins and that. I remember we had one big bath. It wasn't like ice baths and a proper like one big bath. The lads used to all get in a bath and stuff like that. And then but like smaller training ground, there was probably two main pitches. But here, you've got numbers of pitches. Yeah. The quality of the pitches, like you got like the food, the canteen, the gym. This is just like the academy, so I'm not even talking about the first team side.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. No,
I know I know this is typical Last Word On Spurs phrase here, conscious of time.
We've got that one in. Got to get that one in.
Squeeze in a final few questions, JD. I mean, like, at least touched upon there, look, incredible training ground where we're at today, phenomenal stadium. I think as a player, if you're driving up here or being taken here to come and sign, I think when you come here, you fall in love with the place before you've even been told what your role will be here. I mean, just when you look at the club now in terms of stadium, training ground, Antonio, does it feel like the club now is kind of geared to win?
Yeah. I love the manager, to be honest. Even before he came, like always, like you know, his time when he was in Italy, obviously, like, I always thought, I like this guy.
Yeah.
Because he's a winner.
He's a winner.
Do you know what I mean? I know people can say whatever they want to say, but at the end of the day, it's like he's a winner. He wants to win, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And
that's the standard, right? You feel set for
that's
the
the
whole
standard.
club. The standard now is set that we've got elite manager, elite training ground, elite stadium. It feels like now we're ready.
And you've seen them. You've seen the mentality shift anyway, because there's games where we've been behind.
Yeah.
And the boys have come back and won, you know, whether that's a last minute goal and stuff like that. You know, I remember the Man United used to do it years ago. Remember we used to talk about Man United? They always used to
find a way to win.
wasn't it?
Yeah, and the reason why that is because that's a mentality thing.
Yeah.
Actually, the whistle's not gone. We keep going.
Do you know what I mean?
So I think that's a mentality thing. Not only that, there's probably like a fitness thing as well.
Yeah.
So from probably how hard the lads worked in pre-season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's for me, like you said, if I was a player now, linked with this football club, and you come and you see the facilities and you see the manager and you see the players.
Stadium, training ground, it's just...
Which I mean, you got like the players that we brought in. You got someone like a Harry Kane, like the focal point of the team. You got a World Cup winner in goal.
Yeah.
So it's like, actually, yeah. Do you know what I mean? So and I do believe we still can obviously go to the next level. So yeah, for me, I've said it before. I've said it ages ago. It does seem like a perfect time to be at the football club.
Yeah.
Because where the club's going.
Yeah,
that excitement of being able to go to another level is really, like a lot of football clubs don't have that, like the Man Cities, whatever, because they're continuing to win. They're already winning. They're already there at that pinnacle. Whereas we've still got that to go. And although that's quite frustrating sometimes from a fan perspective, it's something always to look forward to.
But I had it at Rangers when I went back into Rangers all those years without winning.
Yeah, of course.
And then Stephen, and that was the motivation. I thought actually this is an opportunity for me to go somewhere and be a part of something different.
Yeah,
and I think that the opportunity, and then all of a sudden, you're back at the top and you win, and then it's like, okay, then now we've got to stay there.
Yeah. That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part.
But can you imagine for a player when you think actually I can go in there and actually make a difference?
Yeah.
The club should be here because the size of the football club, I can go and actually make a difference and be a part of something special.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that is a bang on the nail on the head in terms of if Antonio and the team and the whole setup that we've got, because it is a massive team game, everything around you, everyone included. If we go on to win a big prize, like FA Cup, whatever, but we go and win a big prize. We haven't managed to do that, right, for a long time. So that's going to be, everyone's going to be legends, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Mate, can't wait. I'm getting excited now.
Same.
Come on.
Same.
Jermaine, some quick fire ones, and we're going to end a little bit on the foundation. So, look, I mean, we have to ask you before we have to let you go that when you see your rise in a Spurs shirt, some of the goals you've scored, we know that obviously 162 Premier League strikes mean that you are the 9th highest scorer in top flight
10.
history, above the likes of Michael Owen, Spurs legend Teddy Sheringham, you said obviously off air as well, as a hero of yours growing up. What for you do you feel was your best goal in a Spurs shirt?
My best goal?
I think I know your favourite, but I'll say what's your best goal in terms of ability. We'll do a two-parter very quickly.
What are you thinking?
I like the Arsenal one and the one against Man City.
Yeah.
Because the finishes, something that I practiced like.
Yeah.
And
it's more satisfying, right? You practice, and it happens.
Yeah, because I remember I was one-on-one with Vincent Kompany, cut inside, beat Joe Hart, and it's just like.
Bang.
Yeah, two like top players and what they do in that. So I always practice those sort of finishes. But my favourite, that's probably my best goal. My favourite goal was the 5th one against Wigan, because obviously the history behind it.
Right? Yeah. Phenomenal. Lee, we'll let you rattle up on the foundation. Close it.
Yeah, for sure. So, Jermaine, you was awarded an OBE in 2018 for your charitable work, which is absolutely amazing. Before we look to close this, obviously special, so I wanted to give you some insight into your personal foundation, which you founded in 2013, I think it was.
Jermain Defoe Foundation?
Yeah, the foundation.
That was at 2000, after the World Cup, really.
Yeah. So, around that time. So, supporting the homeless, vulnerable, abused children, families. Give us some background, Jermaine, if you can, about kind of how that's gone, why you kind of got involved in that, and how we can get involved, or the wider people can get involved in.
Because I wanted to obviously have other players have had their foundations and stuff like that. Especially a lot of the African players, the African boys have done it so well.
Yeah.
So it's something that probably I've always wanted to do. I always spoke about it with my mum, but at the right time. And I remember when I think there was a hurricane in St. Lucia, actually. Obviously St. Lucia background and stuff like that. There was a hurricane in St. Lucia. So after the World Cup, I flew back to St. Lucia, and I remember just driving around and seeing all the damage, like the schools were damaged, the hospital.
Yeah.
I always knew about the problems anyway. the problem is that because when people talk about St. Lucia, it's like, oh wow,
Yeah, like
honeymoon
paradise.
destination.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure.
But actually, people don't actually realise all the problems, like the disadvantaged kids, the abused kids on the island, and all that sort of stuff that I knew anyway. Growing up, I've always known. So it was just a conversation with my family, my mum and that, and I said, you know what, we need to like actually have a foundation and try and raise funds so that we can, you know, because there's an actual children's home. You know, the kids that are obviously ain't got parents and stuff like that. There's a children's home, but there was only one on the island.
Wow.
And you go there, I remember going, it was tiny. And there was like about 10 kids, probably like 2 rooms.
Yeah.
And then Sister Antonia, she was brilliant. She looked after the kids and stuff like that. And I remember saying to my mum, I said, imagine if we can like raise funds and make it a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And then we had obviously a gala dinner, managed to raise the funds, built the children's home, so there was more space.
Nice.
And all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so it's just been, and every year we'd have like a football tournament.
Yeah, that's
you have these like 5-a-side tournaments every year, like in the summer. So obviously, again, to raise funds to help, you know. So we do the shoebox of pills and that, you know, like every year we do like send like barrels to St. Lucia and all that sort of stuff. So that's sort of like the background really.
Yeah.
But it was hard at the time when I went there after the World Cup and I saw like the children's home was damaged. Like there was like a school damaged, that like where the libraries damaged.
Yeah,
kids couldn't,
it
was just
resources that they had, which was little anyway.
Yeah, and I was like, actually,
decimated.
Yeah, and I said to my mum, I said, we can like do something. We can like have a dinner if you get the right people there.
Yeah.
That are going to raise the funds.
Yeah.
And then we can, and with the money we can do something, even if it's something small.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. So yeah.
Jermain, I want to say, mate,
Brilliant
it's
stuff,
been
mate.
an absolutely
superb.
wonderful. Listen, thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely superb. I just want to close it on one final thing that we want to bring, obviously, awareness to, is that the fact you've taken part in a huge amount of charitable work with the Tottenham Hotspur Foundation over the years, and front of the 18 project, and that's providing mentoring and support for children in care while you were a player. It's great to hear that you're finally getting back involved with it now upon your return. And I think you presented some awards recently, right?
Yeah.
How was that?
That was good actually, and especially like obviously because when I was here before, it was such a good thing in that, because obviously a lot of the kids that were in care, and I was going to say, can you imagine being in care? I couldn't imagine being in care because I had my parents around. I was lucky, my mum. So you can imagine how difficult that was. But to actually be there and see the kids being recognised for like whether that's something that they've achieved at school or an exam or whatever it was, attendance.
Yeah.
So for them to get that sort of recognition, it must have been such a nice feeling in that, because the life before it must be so hard for them. It must have been so hard, and to get that sort of recognition for something small, and have an event where there was music, speeches, awards and stuff like that. It was nice. It was nice to be there. All these years later, and I come back it was really nice to be there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, say, Jermaine.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, we're in the press auditorium now. So one day when you're manager, maybe Jermaine, you invite us back in, and we'll come back into this room.
Yeah, still got to imagine me and Ledley.
It's been fantastic, mate. Thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Jermaine,
No
it's been a
problem.
pleasure. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed it with the wonderful Jermain Defoe on Last Word on Spurs. Thank you so much. But from the wonderful Lee McQueen, from me, from Jermain Defoe, guys, please, as always, keep safe, keep well. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.
Yeah, love that.